So, welcome back to the Inside the Labyrinth Podcast. This is the revamped, rebranded version in our new facility in White Plains, New York. Friends for Recovery Westchester, thank you for the space. This is our new spot. And like I was saying earlier, we just rebranded, and I am super happy to have our first guest on the Inside the Labyrinth Podcast. And I'm going to let her tell her story, but I'm going to just give you a little backdrop. I heard about Grace through my friend Brandon Traeger, who's a great friend of mine, and he started to get into it, and I was like, I got to meet this woman. And we were revamping the podcast, and I was like, yeah, this would be a good one to start. So without further ado, I want to introduce Grace O'Connor.
That's me. Hello, everybody.
Thank you for
so
coming
much.
to the show. Thank you for taking time out and having a conversation with me. So how we like to do Inside the Labyrinth is we like to do a little backtrack, right? We like to figure out where you started and where your grassroots are.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Grace.
My grassroots. Wow, I love that you even use that phrasing because I purposefully chose the tree for my foundation as.
That's why I use grassroots.
Yeah.
I was going to wear a shirt, but I wore it yesterday.
Oh, thank you.
I was sweating in it.
Yeah,
so I was like,
no worries. No, I grew up in Yorktown Heights.
Cornhusker.
Yeah, my mom and dad are from Ireland.
You know what's funny? I was talking to Mom yesterday. I heard the brogue, and I was like, all right, okay, I get it.
Everybody's always so surprised. But yeah, my parents, they were both, I'm first generation American. So my mom and dad grew up in Ireland.
Something else we have in common. I'm first generation American as well.
They came here, and I just have the utmost respect for my parents because of that. Because it's everything that I am, my roots are really in Ireland. And it's funny because I've been so drawn to go back to the country and visit. My mom's one of 10. So I literally want to see my family all the time.
Yeah.
Now that it's getting so much bigger too. But they just, they came to the Bronx. They worked in Manhattan. Wow. They met and
I'm a Bronx guy too.
Yeah. And then they moved to Yorktown Heights, right? So ever since then, that's where I grew up. And
so you went to all the schools? What elementary school did you go to?
I went to, oh my God, what elementary school did I go to?
Yeah.
I went to, oh my God, you're quizzing me. I don't even remember what the name of my elementary school was.
Okay. But Yorktown High School?
Yeah, I went to all the schools. Middle school, then Yorktown High School, obviously. Graduated in 2012, went off to St. John's University.
St. John's, let's talk about St. John's.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so
Red Storm, baby.
Red Storm. So I'm so old that they used to be called St. John's Redmen.
Oh, really?
Right. So I'm from the era of Felipe Lopez and Zendon Hamilton, real New York tradition basketball.
I have no idea who they are.
Yeah, I mean the lineage of basketball greatness in New York City comes through St. John's.
Yeah.
Right. Chris Mullin, Ron Artest. I can, Mark Jackson. I could keep going, but tell me about your experience with St. John's University.
I loved St. John's. I went to St. John's because my parents were if you ever want to live and thrive in New York City, everybody knows St. John's. So I went there because of that. And if you don't know, St. John's has the most incredible campus. It is gorgeous. The campus is just amazing, and it's only getting better too. They've invested so much money in our medical facilities there. There's a big pharmacy program at St. John's.
Okay.
I went for legal studies when I was there.
I was going to actually major in.
Yeah, and I never actually did anything with law, but it's funny now that I have my foundation, starting my nonprofit, I had to read so many legal documents, and all of my skills from St. John's really came back to me when I was starting the foundation. But I love St. John's. I was in Greek life there. I was the president of my sorority, which is so funny. I tell my students that these days, and they always are laughing at me because I teach seniors. So they're going off to school. They're going into Greek life. But great community there, with Yorktown.
How'd you get into teaching? You say you majored in legal studies, correct?
Yeah, so I was in legal studies, and then I started actually working at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention because a friend of mine was you'd be great for this work.
Okay.
So worked there, and I worked in fundraising, so another full circle moment for me, which is a same, nonprofit space.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I did that. Natalia Pompeo got me the job there. So grateful for that. She saw something in me and was you need to do this. And I did. And then honestly, like I was sitting behind a desk and I'm not someone who can sit behind a desk.
I get that.
So I was researching like, where can I go that's not behind this desk when I was there? And I wanted to make an impact in the mental health space, and I wanted to make an impact in regards to suicide and get my voice out there and tell my story. And I wanted to work with kids. So it all came back to like, I need to be in a school. And it was honestly my dad who was like, you should be a teacher. Like my parents are like very practical people, but like they're very like, get like a city job, you know, they're that generation.
I think that's just that like immigrant generation, because I was kind of raised the same way. You know, my parents came here from Honduras, and the whole thing was like, first it was church, right? So I was an altar boy. I sang in the choir. You know, I was raised Roman Catholic. So, you know, got a, communion, confirmation. My confirmation name is Patrick, by the way.
Amazing.
But yeah, I did all of the things, right? And my parents were always big on like, you know, go to school, get a job that has a pension, and so on and so forth. So that resonates with me.
Yeah.
So you being a teacher, you feel like you're living in your purpose, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I am living more so on my purpose when I'm doing things like this. And, but teaching is it is very a part of that for me. I mean, I think like everybody has a little bit of a teacher in them in some area, but absolutely like being with kids it teaches me so much about myself because I learn through them. They're constantly keeping me on my toes intellectually, spiritually, like, and even physically, right? Like I coached track for a while and I was like, all right, if these kids are running miles, I have to run miles too, right? Like I got to keep up. So I really do feel, I adore the teaching profession. And I do feel like I'm living in my purpose as a teacher.
Would you say
I'm good at it.
Your appreciation language, right? What do you think is your appreciation language?
Give me an example.
So like people use love language, but I use appreciation language, right? So I'm like acts of service.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why I became a police officer, because I feel like I can do things and help my community.
Absolutely.
So they say the best way to live as a human being is to serve others.
Yeah.
So that's why I became a police officer, right? So I kind of get that same energy from you.
100%, yeah.
And I think that's why you jumped into the teaching space.
Yeah, definitely.
And the more I hear you talk about it, I can see the passion and like your face lights up, your body language is just like, so would you say acts of service?
Absolutely, yeah. I love like giving myself to others. I think that is like the best thing in the world. Everything comes back to love for me, and I feel like giving yourself is an act of love. And like all I want to do is love people in this world because we need more of it.
Yeah.
And
that's what we're created to do, is love.
Yes.
You know? And I feel like people don't get it.
And we need to love kids more too, right? Like I think,
Indeed.
And they all need it because they need to find themselves. And in order to find yourself, I believe that you need love. And so that's why I love just loving them and pushing that onto them and modeling it. Again, it goes back to loving yourself, right? Like, so if they see me, my confidence, if they see me come in and be happy and show up to work happy, I think that bleeds into their daily lives too.
Absolutely.
I hope. It's the hope.
Oh man, I love that.
At least one of them.
Got me a little emotional talking about that.
We're going to go deep.
Oh yeah. So, you know, I'm going to bounce it back to me and Brandon Traeger, right? So
yeah, please.
When I was talking to Traeger about you, he was like, she's got a great story, and he was telling me about your brother. So I want to dive into that.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll let you tell that story because, you know, in honor of Suicide Awareness Month, I said this is an imperative conversation that we need to have because it's a pressing issue, especially right now.
Absolutely.
Right? But, you know, in general, it is a pressing issue. But just right now, I think the world is in a space where a lot of people feel like there's this ridiculous amount of pressure upon them, you know, between social media, political climate, and just like things that are happening in the world. Climate change, you can name it. You know, there's a reason that people feel stressed.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about your brother.
Yeah. So, I mean, I am one of three. I'm the youngest, and Dan was the middle child. And then Mark, my older brother, he's 4 years older than me. And I mean, like Dan and I were always really close. Like we were friends with the same people in high school. We were, you know, he played football, he played hockey. Like we were always we were just like an average family. Seriously, like nothing was off. At least like we didn't think.
Yeah.
And like I came home from school one day on a Monday, and Dan it's wild because this is where I actually like really like learned about my intuition for the first time, because I got off the bus. Actually, I was in class at school and I already knew that Dan was gone. So by the time I got home, I got off the bus being like, you're about to search for your brother and you're about to find him. Like that was literally like what happened. Like those words didn't really, it was more so a feeling.
Yeah.
It was a feeling.
Intuition,
now I realize what it was. Like I didn't hear those words, but it was a feeling. And I got off the bus and my mom was like vacuuming in the house, and I immediately dropped my stuff and I started looking for my brother. And like, and I'm getting chills right now because I was actually like looking around like for him.
Yeah.
I knew something inside me knew. And I found him. And I was the one that found my brother, and like, that took a major toll on me, but also it didn't at the same time. Like, I think that I was meant to find my brother. I had the strength to find my brother. And my mom was in the house. She was like vacuuming, whatever. And, that's how the story was told. And the police officers showed up afterwards. We called 911. Like, it was a very hectic thing. Our neighbors were coming over. It was a very dramatic, traumatic event in my life. But I, for some reason, like had this like innate, like instinct, like you're going to fight, like you're going to be fine. And that's kind of like where the story took off. Right. Like, and now it's really become my story. Like, and starting this foundation and everything, I've had to really sit in that and be like, as much as it's about my brother, it's more so all about me and absolutely everything that I have learned through my brother's loss. He's always here, he's always with me, but like, it's really about me. And everything that he's taught me because of his death. And that is what I want to share with people.
Yes.
No one dies in vain, they say, right?
Yeah.
So, that was, a little bit about Dan and my family too. We were everybody rallied around us. And to come back to the beginning of our conversation about Yorktown and our roots and my family, like everybody showed up. Even yesterday's game, so many people show up for me consistently. I've learned loyalty through this.
Yeah.
And like what it means to be loyal to yourself, but to others through this, because so many people have been so loyal and like selfless to me, and that's beautiful, and I'm so grateful.
Oh man. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Like, there were because people always say, right, like, oh, did you notice anything prior to the actual event?
Yeah.
And I always say, as a person who experienced invasive thoughts, there's nothing that we do that would be indicative of the person actually doing it, right?
Yeah.
We get these thoughts, you get to a place, and either you're gonna do it or you're not, right? And I can only speak on my experience, right? My mom happened to call me when I was like in the thought process of doing something, and that changed everything, right? So when you said,
thank God,
you felt it, I think my mothers, and I feel like women that have that maternal instinct, where like she called me randomly, and it was a weird time too. I was driving home from work, so it was relatively late. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, wow. So to me, that was something from a higher power that prevented me from doing that.
And to touch on that, sorry, my aunt actually in Ireland like called my dad and was like, is Dan okay?
Wow.
That morning, and then like that afternoon, Dan was gone. And so I do, and I think that that's part of my teaching. Like, I want more people to listen to themselves and listen to those instincts and that intuition that we all have. And also to go back on your point about like, were there signs, right? I feel like you were going to kind of get there. There were signs, like looking back on it, Dan had all of the signs actually, right?
Really?
Like he was struggling in school. He would outwardly say, I'm going to kill myself, which is something that kids say these days.
They say a lot, yeah.
We said it growing up and we all say it, right? Or people have. And I always challenge my kids. I'm like, my students, I'm like, do you mean that? You know, don't be afraid to ask people if they mean it. Because Dan said it over and over. And like, you know, even I had a friend that was at the game last night, and I was talking to his girlfriend. When Dan was in high school, like a teacher asked him, like, you know, and I heard this through hearsay afterwards, but a teacher asked, like, what are you going to be doing on like Christmas break? And Dan was like, oh, I'm not going to be here. And now his friend, or excuse me, someone in the class felt weird about that. Again, goes back to their instincts, their gut, right? This is what I want to teach with suicide prevention. It really is that like feeling of like, that was weird, you know?
Yeah.
And so like that kid, I don't remember his name, but he felt that was weird. And then he went and told another group of kids, which is where my friend Alex heard, you know, so my point is that like people that are in pain and are crying out for help and are in, you know, have suicidal ideation, 9 out of 10 times, the signs are there.
Yeah. So I always say that they give people an opportunity to look in.
Yeah.
And most people just don't pay attention to that. They'll just kind of say to themselves like, oh, well, I don't think they mean that to themselves, instead of, like you said, asking that question.
Yes.
I think people are scared to ask uncomfortable questions or have uncomfortable conversations. I think that's key in helping people, is having those uncomfortable conversations and putting them in a position where they, like, I don't want to say have to answer you, but like a genuine look in the eye and say, do you really mean that, goes a long way. Because I had a friend that was experiencing something, and one day, instead of, I always say this is very weird because people are like, why do you say this? I asked my friend, how's your spirit? Randomly.
I love
one day.
that. That's
and he
beautiful.
was like, dude, I'm fucking struggling. He said it to me right there. And he broke down. We had an hour-long conversation. And that,
Could
to
you
me,
feel his energy? Is that why you
I had
asked that?
goosebumps just even talking about it, because I was talking to him and it was weird. He was like, wasn't looking me in the eye.
I was going to say eye contact, so that says everything too.
And his like body language was just shitty. And I was like, bro, how's your spirit? And he just broke down. He's like, dude, I'm struggling. I got this going on. I got that going on. And I'm like, bro, I can help you. I said, if you let me help you, I can help you. You know, I can point you in the right direction. And once you get there, you got to do the work yourself.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to be here 24/7, 365. You have to do the work yourself. And he was like, all right, man. You know, and thank God, you know, that was one person I was able to touch and I was able to help. And so this kind of leads me to like my next question, right? So people see one side of suicide, right? They see the loss. They see the person no longer here. But the residual effects is the family dynamic, the community dynamic. How was that after Dan left?
Oh my God, so positive. As you saw yesterday, so positive. I mean, like everybody rallied around me because I think it was such a shock to my family, but also such a shock to like everybody in the community. And like because of that, it felt like absolutely everybody lost my brother too. And they did. We all did. We all lost him. And so I felt like, okay, I'm not alone in this. My parents felt like they weren't alone. And like this stuff goes so like deep that like people now, and it's almost like November will be 16 years since Dan's passed. Like he has now been off of this earth longer than he was ever on the earth. Or actually it's even, but whatever, regardless. But like people will literally text my family and be like, I dreamt about your brother last night, or I, you know, felt him today, or something strange, like all of these crazy things. And like, that's just like how deeply rooted our community was.
Do you feel like you still feel him?
Oh yeah. I think that like my brother is right here in this room with us now, like genuinely. I see him in animals and birds a lot. Like that comes through for me spiritually. And yeah, it's an easy yes for me. He's here.
So the next portion I like to go into is, so when I was doing my due diligence and my research, I noticed that you are in endurance sports.
Yes.
Right. Now, I have to ask, were you into endurance sports prior?
I was a runner.
Okay.
I was always a runner.
Yes.
But no, that was a gradual thing. A lot of it had to do with my grief and my healing. Yes.
So there's a correlation. Anybody who has ever experienced something traumatic in their life, they tend to get into these grueling endurance sports where you find out a lot about who you are mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so that's where I was like kind of leaning towards, and you
Yeah.
kind of just hit the nail on the head there. So you just dove into endurance sports.
Yeah. Running has like saved my life. It trains the mind.
Yeah.
It is just like the
Yeah.
mind, body, and soul. It's like my meditation. A lot of people are like, Grace, like I the last thing I think I really need to master. I mean, there's a lot to master, but
Yeah.
I really do want to tap into meditation, like actually sitting and meditating. But so far,
Something I picked up recently, breath work and meditation, game changer.
but it's so hard to do.
It's very hard to do because
Yeah.
especially you sound like me. It's very hard to quiet the mind.
Yes.
Especially we live in a very hectic world. So like
Yeah.
your phone is literally your lifeline to everything, right? We get up in the morning. I think a lot of people within 5 minutes of waking up, they're in their phone, checking emails, checking texts, and probably on social media
Yeah.
doing the damn thing, right? So I always tell people take 20 minutes of your day, right, to focus on breathing,
Yeah.
right? Look at your feet where you are currently in life and just be grateful. I think outward gratitude and just kind of slowing down and, paying attention to where you are in life. And I have a mantra, like every morning I wake up and
What
then
is it?
when I come home, I always thank God for just giving me food, shelter, and water. Right, that is like Maslow's hierarchy. That's like the baseline, right?
The
Food,
necessities.
shelter, water.
Yeah.
Right, and a lot of people they live in a world where like they don't have those things.
Yeah.
And that's like something that I'm forever grateful for because I encounter people who are homeless, and every day they have to figure out
How
how
to
they're
get
going to
those.
make it to the next day. Right, and when it's just something that's seamlessly there, where you can just go to your bed and go to sleep,
Yeah.
and know like you're gonna wake up and like you got roof over your head, you got food in the fridge, you got water, you're good.
Yeah.
So you can kind of go from there. So I
Seriously.
always just thank God for giving me food, shelter, and water. And at night I say thank you for allowing me to return home in the same way I left, sound mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
So I kind of go with that. Those are like my two little mantras, and I kind of go with
beautiful.
that. And so let's go back into this meditation.
Yeah. Running.
So I found one of my therapists was like, so I have two therapists. Second one is something that's more recent. And she's more of the religious portion of it, right? So I try to journal every day. I try to pray every day, and I try to meditate every day. And so she was the one who gave me the idea. She was like, hey, you ever try moving meditation? And I was like, why the fuck
Tai
do you do that?
Chi or
No, so she was like, when you run, right, you have a breathing cadence, correct? You have
Yeah.
strides that you hit, right? When you cycle, same thing. Just focus on your breathing and quiet your mind. And I was like, I'll try it. Because I usually throw on some AirPods, give me
Yeah.
something with some BPMs
Yeah.
to keep a cadence, and then I go, right? So
it's
one
hard to
day-
run without headphones. I do that a lot, actually.
Yeah, because your mind, it's so weird because when I run, I'm not a runner. God didn't design me to run. I have way too much muscle on my frame to like be a distance runner. But I decided one day to pick something that I hate and make it suck less, right? So I was like, all right, let's pick up running. So I started doing like 20, 40, and 60-minute runs. The next thing you know, I'm out there running for an hour, and I actually started to feel good, right?
Yeah.
And so she was like, go out on a bike ride or run and just focus on your breathing and quiet your mind.
It's powerful. It is so powerful.
Game changer. So something that I recently started doing is I get up super early to work out. Running in the morning when it's like that cotton candy sky right before the sun comes up, I just go out there and focus on my breathing and like how my feet hit the ground and making sure that I'm just focusing on where I'm at presently, and I'm running, I'm honoring my gifts, I'm moving my body, and you get these like waves of thoughts, right? And I always say when I'm running, especially if it's distance, someone who has passed in my life is with me,
Oh, yeah.
right? I had a very, very, very close relationship with my grandmother. So she passed in 2010. And I remember running the New York City Marathon. I get to mile 20, and I'm like,
Hardest.
I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
I cannot do it.
You're like, it's only 6 more.
Yeah. And my body was
walk.
like, no. And I swear my grandmother was like, psh, a little pat on the ass and got me going.
I love that.
And, I ran the New York City Marathon, right, from mile 20 to 26.2 with no music. And it was me and my grandmother running.
Yay. I love that.
And so that moving meditation brings back to that moving meditation. that is something that I think you should tap into. It's great because
I do that. I do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
I do that.
I think sitting down for us is very difficult.
Oh yeah.
Right. But if you are out moving and honoring your gifts, it's completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I struggle with the sitting down. And it's funny too, like I had something come through, and that's why like marathon training and running, so like mileage, that drastic mileage, right? Like 14, 16, 18 miles. It's like something always comes through for me. Like when I was actually running the New York City Marathon, I had a feeling of like, you're not in the right relationship. Like you need to like get out of this. And that was like a
moment of clarity.
A moment of clarity. And I was
Were you in the pain cave? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I was actually like at like mile like 22. And then I was like, this is like, I am so deep in this mantra, this meditation that like, it was like, I knew that this was a message, like, and Grace, listen to it. So that is like how and like I've had those experiences. People talk about runner's high. Like I've had so many of these experiences like over and over again with running, which is why it's a drug to me. I literally keep going back because it's a drug. Cycling too, working out. I mean, it's discipline. It is self-love to do that every single day. I actually have a funny story. I was training for the New York City Marathon, and I got hit by an MTA bus. 4 days before the marathon. I got hit in a crosswalk, and that's it. I broke my wrist. Thank God I was okay. I had a little bit of a injury in my lower back, but everything was fine. Thank God. But I wasn't able to run the marathon, and I was because I wasn't going to run miserably. At first I was like, I'm running. Yeah. And then I was like, no, you're not doing it. Like you've trained, you know you can do it. Excuse me. And I just decided to defer. And I surrendered. Okay, clearly you don't need to be running this for some reason, whatever that is. And through that, I learned that like it's not about the race. It's about the training, number one, but it's also just about like, it was, for me, I learned, I was like, this was like a self-love journey, because when you commit every day to yourself to get up at the crack of dawn, like you talked about, it's hard. It is not easy. That is an act of love to yourself, right? Like that is an act of like, and discipline, that is a skill that you need, everybody should master, I think. And I want to teach that. And I learned that through sport. I learned that through movement. And that is what like being active and like endurance sports is for me. It's discipline. And we all need discipline, because when you train your mind, like you master your mind. And that is how I've learned to master parts of my mind. I'm not perfect, obviously.
None of us are.
Yeah. And it's like, there's many, many things that I still have yet to master about my mind, but I know that is a tool in my toolbox that helps me become more me and be present. And so I want to challenge people to try to do those hard things, right? Like your alarm goes off, you're like, I don't want to get up. Get up. Don't think about it. Roll over. Literally don't think. Roll over. And that is discipline. It's training. It's training. Everything is training.
At the apex of Maslow's hierarchy is self-actualization, and that comes with it right there. Like just being able to commit to yourself, that self-love, realizing like, you know, it's bigger than that little voice that tells you, no, I don't get out of bed. So when you said that like really resonated with me.
Yes.
And I don't think people who don't do what we do as far as like endurance sports, I don't think they get that, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, like if you told me a year ago that I'd run 2 marathons and like whatever, I'd be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But I found peace doing these things.
Yes,
that
same.
Seems like torture to everybody else.
Yeah.
So when I hear you talk about it and I see like your face light up and I'm like, yeah, she gets it. Like, I'm pretty sure your students love the way you connect with them, because I can see the passion.
Yeah, I have
when
so
you
much
speak
passion.
About, like I could see it. Like, you know, I don't know if you've always been like this, but like I could definitely pick up on it.
I am so passionate, and it comes out. I've had to channel it too, because it's like in my younger years, it came out as like emotion,
Yeah.
especially with Dan's loss. Like I would become so passionate that like I would cry
Mm-hmm.
because I genuinely feel so much and I am so passionate about stuff and I
Yeah.
have so much love inside of me that I want to share. And it's hard for me to channel that, but I've learned, I'm learning to channel that better.
So let me ask you a question. Did you run any marathons, anything like that prior to Dan leaving us?
No, all after.
All after?
Yes.
What was your first marathon or your first endurance event that was like monumental to you?
Honestly, I'm gonna throw out the 5-borough bike tour because I
Hey,
did that.
okay.
Yeah,
I did that too.
and it's I love cycling and I did that by myself and it was pouring rain the entire time.
What year was that? You're better than me because I don't do anything in the rain. If it's
maybe,
rain, Jay ain't in it.
Maybe 2016.
Okay.
Or you know what, actually, 17, 18, I'm not sure, but in that little time frame, and it was pouring rain. I kid you not, the entirety of the entire, and I wanted to stop the entire time, and I just kept going, and I had a great race, and I was soaked the whole time.
Better than me, honey.
So that's the
I'm good.
first. And then after that, so I had to defer my New York City Marathon,
Okay.
and I was fundraising for 2 other marathons in the midst. So I've run 3 now. I ran 3 marathons last fall, all at one back to back to back. So I did Berlin.
You're a gangster. You
Yeah,
did Berlin? Okay.
I did Berlin.
All right.
I did Berlin. I went to Berlin and I took it as my like training. I was like, oh, I'm going to train a little bit, like whatever. And that was hard. The Berlin race is amazing, but the crowds are not as wild as Chicago and New York. So
Okay. I got a bunch of my friends that are they're prepping for Berlin now. They're going to
Great
hit full
race.
send when they get out there. So
Beautiful
you ran
city.
Berlin, Chicago,
I did Berlin,
New
and then I did Chicago, and then I ran New York City. And New York City was the
by
best
far
race.
the best. I was going to ask you
Yes.
what was your favorite.
Yes, obviously. I'm a New Yorker. Like the vibes in New York
Yeah.
are just, there is so much energy. And if your energy is like me, like that, you will thrive with the New York
cry
City
during it?
Marathon. No, but you know what? Actually, at the end, I sat down on a bench and I just like decompressed for a minute and was about to cry.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine walked up and was like, Grace, because he like lives in the area in the 60s on the west side of the park. And I
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
was like, Milton? And just like hugged, we had a moment and just like, it was perfect. So no, I didn't cry. No, I didn't.
What was your what was the most challenging part of the New York City Marathon? And what was the point where you thought, if there was a point, that you were going to like give up? I feel like everybody kind of
yes.
gets to a point where they're like, oh.
Probably the same part as you. After like mile like 22. Yeah, like after you you can. I suggest training the last 10 miles, like going from the Upper East Side, looping up to the Bronx, going over the bridges.
Game
and,
changer.
Yeah,
Oh.
like I did that a lot, but I didn't do it enough. Like if I do it again, I will 100% do it enough. Last
Yeah.
10 is everything.
Yeah.
Because Park Avenue, like going
Hills
up
pay
is
the bills.
Yeah.
You got to hit those.
So
yeah.
and
Park
you,
Ave took my soul.
and do not underestimate Central Park too. When you get in there, I'm like, oh, I run the park every day.
I
I'll
was
be good.
miserable when I got into
Yeah,
Central Park. I would say, yo, get me the hell
Get
out
me
of here.
out of this park.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love Central Park. I run Central Park every single day. But like, the Bronx and then, getting into the park, like that was tough. And I was like, I was like
destroyed
you.
me.
I was like, I'll walk. But it's better not to.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't allow
the
yourself
park kind
to.
of broke me a bit because I'm like, I'm damn near done. And
Yeah.
I don't even want to run in here anymore.
Yeah.
Park Ave destroyed me, took my spirit. You know
Yeah.
what? You know what was a sobering moment for me? The 59th Street Bridge.
Ooh. I feel like underrated to brag a little bit here. I crushed the bridges.
You know what
And-
happened to me? I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. Not to cut
Please.
you off.
No, please.
It looked like a scene out of the Band of Brothers. People were just dropping like flies on the bridge, and
Yes,
there's like no
yeah.
crowd up there. It's just you,
Yeah.
and you're breathing, and you're watching people kind of just walk or stop. There was one guy started cramping, looked like a sniper got him or something. He just hit the
Yeah.
ground, like he's screaming, and I'm just like, Jay, don't stop.
Yeah.
Jay, don't stop.
Now's the time. That's the time to lock in, right? It's
Yeah.
like that's the time to train the mind. Like and I think about this in regards to suicide prevention too, because like
about it.
maybe Dan didn't have those skills, like and I think it's very natural for people to like think about dying by suicide when we're feeling pain. Because I've felt it before myself when I've felt pain,
Yeah.
heartbreak, right? Like it brings you to that point where you're like stuck like,
I don't want
knees
to
are
feel
in your
this anymore.
chest.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, please take this pain away from me, right? And so through those experiences in my life, I've been able to like learn and empathize with my brother and be like, okay, this is why he did what he did. This is why he took that drastic action to end his life. You can really empathize with them, right? If you understand that. And then and that's why I'm so good at like, I don't know how to say it, like recovering. I'm really good at recovering. When things happen to me.
I never looked at it like that. The way you just explained it kind of just was eye-opening for me.
Yeah,
so thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, like when if I experience a pain, again, if I'm thinking about heartbreak, because heartbreak is grief for me, right? And so when I experience things like that, troubles or challenges, this is why one of my core values for my foundation is perseverance, because I want to teach this, because I think it is a skill to be able to persevere through like tough things. Yes. And maybe Dan didn't have those skills, right? So it's like maybe I'm here to learn those, and I learned so much of that through training, through endurance sports, and like now I can apply them moving forward when tough things happen in your life, because tough things are always going to happen in your life. They happen every day, every year, like, and if you can recover quick, you get to where you're meant to be faster, right? Like, I think so.
Absolutely.
That's where I'm hoping.
1,000%. I agree. I agree. So let's talk about the Dan O'Connor Foundation.
Yeah.
We'll tell our audience about the Dan O'Connor Foundation.
Yeah, I mean, so speaking of endurance sports, I fundraised for so many organizations, mainly the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Okay.
Yeah, so I fundraised a lot for them for the last now 15 years. Dan, like I said, it has passed in November, so it'll be 16 years.
Okay.
And, it was really a friend of mine who like started putting it in my ear. He was like, you can do this on your own, right? Like, he was like, you can start your own foundation. Like, I have a friend that does this. Like, you can have your own nonprofit. And I've worked in the nonprofit space. So I have all these tools in my box. And so I was like, let me look into it. Looked into it, and I decided, like, let me bite the bullet. I wanted a place where I could speak. Like, all of this, after Dan passed, like, the one thing I wanted to do, like, I saw myself speaking. I for some reason was just like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I do that so much in my professional life, and we're doing it now. I do it in many ways, but I saw myself like as that like motivational speaker up on the stage, right? And like, it's honestly, this is the first time that I've like actually said that out loud.
Oh, wow.
And I think we need to start owning the things that we want, our dreams that we're pursuing.
So you
because then they
envision
will come.
that,
I
and you're
envision
saying it
that.
out loud.
Yeah, exactly. This is the first time.
Visualization 101
yes.
right there, yeah.
And where was I going with this? I
don't know. I was just locked in.
Letting me go. Yeah. Oh, so it was a friend of mine that was like, get the foundation going, right?
Yes.
And so, and part of, and I had been expressing this to this friend.
Yes.
Saying like, I want to be a speaker. He's like, I see you as that too, right? And so this was my way to do that. To start my foundation was, I wanted to tell Dan's story, which is what I'm doing today, AKA my story, because they're both very combined. And so that is why I started the foundation, and it's in his honor and in his memory, and like everything that comes with that is all positive things, and I want to loop it into Yorktown. Like, all I want to do is just give back to my community, because they gave me so much. They gave me everything. Yeah. Like I said earlier, they allowed me to grieve and to be myself and to just thrive. Like, I wouldn't be here without their support and their loyalty and their love. And that's what I want to teach with the Dan O'Connor Foundation moving forward. And it sounds complex. I was even saying to a friend of mine last night, I was like, it's not even about suicide. It is. It all started with this incident, this traumatic event. This event. But it's become about so much more. It's everything that I've learned after that about myself.
Oh, so what's next for the Dan O'Connor Foundation? I know we just did the game last night. Shout out to Yorktown Huskers. We lost last night, but for the greater good of the evening, we got to shed some light on the Dan O'Connor Foundation. Yeah. And I could feel the love in the stands and in the crowd last night. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thanks for being there.
Yeah, it was a little surreal to be there and experience that. So
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for that.
Of course.
But tell us what's next.
Yeah, I mean, I see the foundation like being in different spaces. Like
Okay.
I want to like start doing like I don't know like run club stuff, but I also want to start getting into like fitness spaces because that's so much of my life. And
Yeah.
I want to make talking about suicide sexy, okay? Because I
okay.
think that like I'm sexy and women are sexy and we all
Talk about it.
Yeah, like, and I think that people sometimes don't think it's a sexy conversation to be having.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to start talking about it more in every space, like your dinner table. So that's what I really want to do. I want to get into fitness spaces. I want to get into, I want to start actually talking to police officers too, because I want to talk and unpack that with you too, because
Yeah.
I know that first responders are the first people that come to the scene, right? So when you think about my incident and what happened with Dan, I found my brother, right?
Yeah.
But like police officers are the ones that respond as well, right? So like
Yeah.
that impacts them the same way it impacted me. So I would love to have conversations in those spaces.
I think that would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Police officers are not great with expressing themselves.
Yeah.
So you being able to do that and, tapping into that space, I think that would be beneficial for both sides. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of cops have issues just trying to express themselves. They say the average human being has anywhere between 2 to 3 critical incidents in their entire life, right? Police officers have 188 over their career, 188 critical
Yeah.
incidents. So you shedding light on that and getting guys to kind of speak about it. There was a kid that I was, I do peer support.
Yeah.
So there was a kid who I knew prior to being a police officer who in 1 week had 3 deaths.
Yeah.
And
oh my
I
God.
mean,
It happens in threes, they say.
and the wild one was the last one. It's crazy. He's a pretty resilient kid, right? But the last one, he goes, "Yeah, I gotta talk to you, bro." And I'm like, "Oh, you good, man?" He's like, "Yeah, bro." He's like, "But this last one fucked me up a little bit."
Yeah,
And
this
I'm
one's
like,
hard.
I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "I went up to." So what happens is when you go to any kind of scene or something like that, there's an investigation, right? So, long story short, he had to locate the vehicle. And he said in the back of the vehicle were 2 car seats. He said that fucked him up.
Yeah.
And I said, "Bro, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it." And, and like I said, he had 2 prior that week, and then the third one was that one. And he was like, the only thing I thought about was his family and his kids.
course.
Like, they don't have a dad now.
The impact. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, there's layers to that shit because when you start doing investigations and start doing X, Y, and Z, you find out why this person got to this place. And now you have to unpack that shit. And it's very hard to do what we do on a daily basis and fucking forget.
Yeah.
It's
Oof.
tough.
No, you never forget.
Yeah,
Like,
and there's certain things that kind of remind you of the previous incident. Everything's looped in.
Oh, yeah.
When you do this long enough, not saying that you get numb, but you try to we have to have what they call convenient amnesia, right? So, you can have the worst call of your life start 5 minutes into your tour.
Yeah.
You can't go home. You have to finish out your tour. So whether you work an
course.
8-hour shift, a 10-hour shift, a 12-hour shift, whatever it is, you still got to be there. And that's just the beginning of your shift.
Yeah.
Right? And that could be day 1 of 4 or day 1 of 3, whatever. And you still have to get through it.
Do you find that people on the force become desensitized to these things?
Yeah. I mean, the
Like, try to
culture has
kinda
shifted.
just-
I've been a cop 20 years. So I've seen the shift.
Yeah.
And the old school cops were just they didn't have any feelings. It was so
Yeah.
weird. I've never seen anything like that. Like my first real incident as a police officer was I saw a guy who was pretty much, he was DOA, but he was just full of holes. And I remember looking around and everybody there was just like,
Oh God, yeah.
I'm like, this
Yeah,
man
like
is
no
not.
one's seeing this. Yeah,
But they've done this so long and they've seen so much. They're just
Yeah.
like, all right, well.
Yeah, it's
On to the
traumatic.
next.
It's
Yeah.
traumatic to see somebody like that. It is.
Yeah,
It is.
and they just normalize it. So it's
Yeah.
like you see the shift, and then no one ever talks about anything. So the fact that you said, hey, maybe I can help some cops just kind of talk about X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. They need that. They won't say it,
Yeah.
but they need it.
Of course.
And that's what I'm trying to change. I'm trying to change that culture.
Yeah.
Like, hey, have a conversation, as uncomfortable as it may be.
Yes.
Right? have that conversation, unpack that, because at some point you are going to feel that. Mm-hmm. It may not hit you right now.
Yeah.
It may not hit you tomorrow, but you'll be driving home and then you'll just get flooded with a bunch of emotions.
Yeah.
So.
I think it really comes through modeling too, because like, I don't know, I think people just have like negative misconceptions about topics like this. It's like, I talk to people and some people will be like, how can you be so positive about it? I'm like, because you can.
Yeah.
It's that simple to me. You can. Not everything has to be negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was at a show and ran into a girl from college, and she was like, oh, the last time I saw you was at your brother's hockey thing. And she was like, oh, you know, my friend lost her friend, and like brought me over to the friend, and the friend was like, I don't want to talk about this. She was like disgusted. Like, she just like completely deaded it. And that's totally fine. That's like her, you know, way of dealing, whatever. But like, I was just like, this is why I'm doing what I want to do. Like, this is the mission, to like be at a show, at a concert, and to be able to have like why can't we have a conversation about it? Like, it's cool. I get that you don't want to talk about it. You know, that's fine too. Mm-hmm. I understand both sides, but also like, I do want there to be a more positive like mindset at the get-go about it.
I get that. I think some people just have a different way of processing grief.
Yeah, true.
Some people don't want to get out in front of it because eventually it's going to crash on you at some point. And I just want to say I commend you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
As we head to like the end of the podcast, I'd like to just ask if there's anything you want someone to get from this conversation that we just had, what would it be?
If there's one thing that I want people to get from this, it's probably, I'm going to go back to my statement earlier and really listen to yourself. Be honest with yourself about what you want in this world and in this life. And I think that the more that we are honest with what we want, I think that really leads to happiness. And happiness doesn't last 24 hours of the day. You know, it doesn't last an entire year, but you get those little snippets of it, and you can be happy. Yeah. You can live a very positive, happy life. It takes dedication, and it takes listening to yourself, because there's so much outside noise. Yeah. And so I think that if we can be a little bit more authentic within ourselves, then like we can get to a more positive, happy culture, and like maybe our mental health struggles will be a little less.
Well said. Said. Oh man, thank you so much for sitting down and having this conversation with us today. If you don't follow Grace, where could they reach you?
Follow me, Grace Ann O'Connor. It's ANNOCONNOR. Grace Ann O'Connor. And then you can follow the Dan O'Connor Foundation, which is Dan O'Connor Foundation.
All right. Yeah. So you heard it here. If you're not following, go follow. And once again, thank you for having this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. This was enlightening for me. And I hope that you had a great time on this podcast.
I had a blast.
Thank you again. So this is Jay Lacayo for Reps for Responders Inside the Labyrinth Podcast. Yeah, we're out. Thank you so much.